Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing to spend your afternoon here with Pat, Caesar, and myself. For those who don't know, I'm Patricia Ogunfaber, and I do a podcast show to help people maximise property values. It's called Maximising Property Values, and there is a link to the main listening platforms above if you're in the room. But you can find it on Apple, Spotify, Google, Audible. So if you're interested, you can just go to those platforms and search for Maximising Property Values, and you will come across it. If you like it, why not subscribe? If you listen to any of the shows, why not review the one that you've listened to? Because it will be great. Thank you. And it doesn't have to be, oh, I love it. It can be, oh, I hated it. But if you do hate it, tell me why. And let me, see what I can do to make it even better. So before, I used to do this just on my own as a monologue. But since November 2021, I've been inviting guests to come and talk with me on Clubhouse, and I call that the guest series. So today, my guest is Pat Caesar. So let's get to know Pat a little bit more today. So, who is Pat? She's a property entrepreneur from the heart. Her property business is a place to espouse her values and maintain a lifestyle of health and wealth. Pat has appreciation for everything that we are, want to be and become. She says life is beautiful and it comes in countless choice of expressions of love, peace, joy and gratitude. Pat, welcome to Maximising Property Values. But before we go into your main activities, we want to get to know you better. So here are your questions. So the first question is this: what made you take on your lovely and beautiful ethos?
Wow, Patricia, I didn't think I was in for this, to be honest with you. What an introduction. Thank you so much. I think I'm liking this podcast thing now. I know the number of people on here, listening or on it at the moment isn't huge, but the key thing is what you're putting into it. The guest series is an amazing series because I wasn't expecting to be interviewed by you or spoken to by somebody by yourself, but it's a beautiful place to be because you bringing out the values, bringing out who we are, you bringing out, you're showing us ways to actually maximize our property businesses in different ways. But this particular series, I think I'm getting to like it now because it's going to make me bring out who I really am. But thank you so much for inviting me, and
No, thank you for coming.
and thank you too for the question. So, who am I? Getting to know me. It's an honor to be, to be speaking to people, and I know whoever is going to be listening to this in the future or at the moment will really resonate with quite a few things about me. Now, who am I? My name is, you already know, Pat Caesar. I live in Kent, and I've been in Kent for more than 22 years. I used to live in Blackheath in London, and we moved into Kent when we needed a second home because we wanted to always come on, weekends because our daughter was in a public school in Kent. That's what got me going in property business. But prior to that, prior to property business, I used to have companies. The company I ran for a long time was an IT company because my background is electronic engineering, but I'm a teacher from the core. I started as a teacher and I went in to do engineering, and then I started lecturing in colleges or instructing in engineering courses, electronic basically, and then opened up my first business in 1990, 92, 93, and that was part-time while I was still, teaching at colleges. And so that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial sort of business, as you were. Originally, I am mixed Kenyan and Nigerian. and I've been in the UK for more than 36 years. Um, Most of my adult life, or well, because I'm nearly 60 now, most of my adult life has been in the UK. So went to university here and did all my things here, and it's a great place to be in, and I really appreciates the fact that, having lived in this country for such a long time, has opened my eyes and my heart to really understand and love people a bit more. Understand people. I'm a people watcher. I'll sit in a place and just watch people move by, and just think of how I could, be them, which I know I am, and how I could love them even more. And that's where the journey for being in property business started from, which is a slight bit of a away from, teaching background and electronic background, uh, because I love people. So I brought myself out from those areas where I was serving. Well, teaching was a service. I was serving, but to an area where I could actually build up and create more relationship, closer relationship with people in properties. And it allows me to really understand people more, to really show them who I am, and I know that's who they are as well. So it's a relationship thing for me, property business. And also it allows me to show that, that we're all one, that there is nothing else there, that we are pure nothingness. But the key thing is that we are love at core. So property business allows me to be able to be who I am, because in building that relationship, it's allowing me to, show the values that I have within me, which I was not able to show because under the, if you are in education, those of people who have been in education, you have educational policies, you have modus operandi, you have curriculum syllabuses where you have to follow. But in property business, I am a business. I am who I am, and I can say what I want to say and be who I want to be. And I know that those things that I would say and be are just pure love. And so that gives me the opportunity to do that. So that's why, and because I'm a very active person, I'm always out for exercise. I am always out in the open. And as I speak now, I'm in my garden. And so, being a very active sports person since I was a child, it gives me that thing that, that makes me want to warm up to people even more. And the exercise allows me to demonstrate who I am, which is, expressing the love that I have for people. And so that relationship comes from the heart, and maintaining that relationship with people. The what I do as a lifestyle, the business I do now, allows me to maintain that quite easily. So that's why I'm in property business, because I can do what I want to do. I spend 3 hours every day at the gym. Unfortunately, I'm not doing this now, but I'll do that in the evening. I'm not there now. I've just missed my body balance. But you know, exercise, is a lifestyle that I've taken, and my business allows me to do that. Lifestyle, from showing love, from building relationship, from just showing that we are all the same. I can maintain that through my property business. And so that's what I'm going to come up to in the 3 a.m. sleep that I've hardly had. I didn't sleep at all from 3 a.m. Sorry, I didn't sleep until 3 a.m. So I'll talk to you about that. But I'm going to hand over back to Patricia now, because I think I've rambled on, but it is a good place to be in. I've rambled on because I love this podcast. It's given me an opportunity to really share who I am from the heart. Over to you, Patricia.
Oh, no rambling. You didn't ramble. You were telling us about you, some of your background, how you think, how you feel, which is what this is all about. So thank you. Thank you for that. Right. So now your second question is this. And I always say to people, if you don't want to answer, a particular question, don't answer it. You're not obliged to answer it. But these are just questions that I came up with for you. So this is it. Can you share with us 2 things that have made you exceptionally happy this year? So we're 2022, we're in June at the moment. So anything from 1st of January till today that's made you exceptionally happy, 2 things. And Pat is on the phone. I know she's got some really difficult guests at the moment. It may well be that they're ringing her because they need to be. Oh, okay, she's back off the phone. So I was saying,
Patricia, sorry for the interruption there. As you probably know, it's a busy time for hospitality business. So I'm getting calls. I mean, I've tried to ignore it, but it's just coming non-stop. Sorry about that. Please
no
start again.
problems, none whatsoever. So I was just saying, can you just share with us, if you're able to, two things that have made you exceptionally happy this year? So we're talking 1st of January to the 22nd of June 2022.
Well, thanks for that question. Anyway, but it's to be honest with you, I didn't. I wanted to think about it, but I thought, no, what's there to think about? You see, what has made me exceptionally happy is that I am here now, this moment. That's the first one. I'm here now. Every day is a gift, so I can't ignore that. I'm not going to pretend and say, oh, that is made me happy. That is made. No, the key thing for me now is this present moment. This is a huge opportunity to speak to everyone on stage here: Annie, Adam, Dave, and exceptional Richmond. Well done. Thanks, Patricia, for inviting me. This is, it's a blessing and it's a huge honor to be here. So it's made me so happy. The being in the moment and answering this question is just incredibly happy. Now, the second one is, um, my daughter, who lives in Dubai, is just got a new job, which is brilliant. The reason I say it's not just this word. I need a word more than brilliant for it, because she's been in a property business herself. She manages, or she's a marketing director for the biggest property. It's called Property Finder and Mortgages in Dubai. She left from the UK 4 years ago to live in Dubai, and she's been doing that, been in that space for a long time, and she wanted to change career, not because she didn't like what she was doing, but she enjoyed it, but she had some issues, and she thought, "Mom, I'm going to have to change." Um, and recently, she just got a consulting job, so she'll be consulting for, for 4 countries: Australia, Singapore, Bahrain, and Dubai. So she's doing so well, and so it brings me joy to know that, the product, the work that we've invested in children does come back, and when it does come back to you, it's a blessing, it's a gift. And so I'm so happy that she's moved on to somewhere where she's just like me. She does want to add value to people's lives. It's exactly the sort of thing that I did, over 26 years ago. I set up a charity. I was going to gather all the leprosy victims in Africa, and I was building a home for them, because I knew they couldn't do anything with their hands or their legs, but I knew they were intelligent. I knew they could do things with themselves. So I set up the African Leprosy Resettlement Trust Fund, which would allow me to be able to, you know, um, spend my money to create a school and a hospital for them, where they could do things, and a huge area of land where they could actually do things for themselves, because they had that stigma that did not allow them to do things with with people in the community. So that's something that I've always loved to do. And because my daughter was quite young when I started, she saw me, you know, grow with her. She saw me being interviewed or followed around by pressmen in Nigeria and in Kenya when I was setting it up. So she knew what my values are. She knows that I love to do that, that for the rest of my life, I want to contribute to people who are disabled in that way, especially in the African space. So, and then having got this job now where she can actually, work within 4 countries, I think she'll be able to do something, carry on my legacy of looking after people who are disabled in other parts of the world. So those are the happiest moments of my life. The first one, that I'm here now, and I'm happy to be talking to everyone who is listening to me in the future or now, and that my daughter is able to carry on with where I'm living off from. Thank you, Patricia. Over to you.
Wow. That's all I can say. So let me just repeat the name of the charity. African Leprosy Resettlement Fund. Is that correct? Did I get it correct?
It is. That's how I set it up. So,
Okay.
yes, that's it. African. It's called Alert. Alert F. ALERT dash F.
Wow. Okay, brilliant. So, people, if you're listening to this either in the room or you're going to be listening via the podcast in the future, if you want to, kind of like support Pat with this charity, that's what you look for. It's called African Leprosy Resettlement Fund. and it's called Alert-F. So that's ALERT-F for Freddie.
Can I
Great
just say,
stuff.
Patricia? Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
that the website has been down for a long time, and obviously because I was going through some stages in life, so I'm going to put it up now. Now that my daughter is, has hinted that I've got to go back, to that. So it's not up at the moment, but it will be. But that is the key thing. Is, if you look up companies or charity registrations, it's already registered in Nigeria, because I did quite a lot of television interviews and for raising the awareness of the stigma that was not highlighted in our society about leprosy and what it could do to these people mentally. So I've got a lot of not podcasts, but obviously television recorded conversations and events that I had in those years, and that was years ago. But so it's not live at the moment. That's all I wanted to let yourselves know. Over to you, Patricia.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much. Do you know, it would be good actually if you could also link it to your website, which I've posted a link of above. And then, people can just see who you are, which is you are quite true. You're right when you say you're about love, you're about appreciation, and you're about joy. And I feel, quite happy to be talking to you today, as part of the guest series. Okay, so your next question, and this is your penultimate question, then there'll be one more, and that will be it regarding the questions. Then we can talk about what you do in property. Right, so the third question is this: tell us about your worst guest experience and why you consider it to be the worst one that you've had.
Oh, that was a good question. It was actually quite recent. And I wouldn't say words, because the words that I try not to use are good and bad. I think they're relative to people, or the worst or the best situation. I think again they're relative to our thoughts, our thinking, and where we are, what stage we are at any point in time. So I don't use that, but I would say why it didn't sit in well within my heart. For those of you that are listening to me now and in the future, you could see probably through me that I really I mean, just like everybody else, it's not just me. There's nothing exceptional about me. Is that I really am true love from the heart. I love people, and I do love people because I know they love me too. But when things happen, when you can see that some things don't sitting well with you, I've always said there is a reason for that, that is coming from the person, whoever is doing something, that you don't know what is driving them, you don't know what is within them, what is going on in themselves, but it's only to forgive them and move on. It's accepting any situation, any part of our lifetime as just being what it is, and then moving on rather than sitting on it and griping about it. I don't do things like that. So in retrospect, and going back to your question, is this particular, what happened was that because people take advantage of us, for instance, when they know that you're called my name, the name of my business, Love and Peace Homestay and Love and Peace Cottages, comes from the heart, and I just want to give. I can't stop. I know people want to give as well. I know we're all the same. So I got that name: love, peace, joy, and gratitude. So that's why when I come on Clubhouse, I'm always saying I'm looking for a 4-bed house, because those are the 4 values I'm espousing. So in all my properties, once you go in, that's what you get, and that's what you see. And that's, people tell me, oh, as soon as I got here, I felt peaceful, really peaceful, and I felt love, which is what I really wanted to do from the beginning. I've always wanted to be that. And then that goes back to what I started with, the charity, with leprosy. I wanted to give as well. As I'm talking to you, I feel very emotional because I can't give enough of me. So I brought that into the business that I'm doing, because I know that creatively I can, show the world what I am and who I am through these things. So the point was that these people take advantage of it. I don't know what is going on in their mind, but this particular incident was, or this particular case was, when guests come to me, because my properties are all within the same area, all in Kent area, I use them to, do quite a lot of things. I walk around all of them too in the mornings, and check on people and check on properties, check on the staff that I use. So people sort of take advantage because you are love, peace, joy. You want to show that. They really take advantage of the fact that they think you're helpless. Or they think that you can't do anything. They think that you got a limit to what you can do. You know, sometimes they don't understand that you are fire as well, though. You could be love, you could be peace, you could be joy, you could be right, but you are fire. You can be fierce at some stage. But I don't throw that at people. So when they come to me, they want to take advantage. I can see that, but I just think, it's life. You're here today, you may not be here tomorrow. What's the point? Do what you want to do. And I make everyone who come into my space to understand that, you know, where they are in any of my properties, in any of my business areas, where you are is where you should be. And if you want to abuse that situation of what you're doing, then you're doing it to yourself. You're not doing it to the other person, because you are the one taking the responsibility. You're taking the gripe. You're taking the angst. The other person that you're trying to do that thing to hurt don't know that. So invariably, you're taking the problem. You are taking that on yourself. So when they come into a space, they know that this is what I espouse: love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And they think, yeah, they want to tell you that you're not that or you are that, but they take advantage. So this incident, this guest checked in to one of my properties, and it's quite local. And as I probably said in Clubhouse, I take on specific areas because those are the areas of guests that I understand, or area of business people that I understand. Teachers, people in medics, especially doctors, therapists, doctors coming from different parts of the world, sort of know me now because in all the 3 hospitals we have, I've left messages there. So they contact me. So I understand that area because I'm a healthy lifestyle person. So being that, I do understand in a way how they work. Well, with educators, with teachers, I understand how they, because I've been an ex-teacher, and businessmen too, businessmen and women, I understand how they work and their thinking. So I thought I'll work around these 3 parameter, these 3 framework of people, and build my business around them. And that's how I started. But the business grew from 3 listings to 11 listings. And sometimes we all know, those of us that are in business, in short stay businesses, that you get voids and areas where there's no money coming in. So I started taking on local people, maybe call it Tom, Dick, and Harry. My daughter would say, you had a vision of what you want to do. Now you're taking on people from all over the place. And I thought, I can't leave this place is empty. So when I started taking on local people, this particular person was a local person. And what happens at weekends, they go out drinking, as you all know, and then they cause mayhem, which is okay. It's a change of chemical in the system. That's up to you. But how you manage it is entirely up to you too. But don't let anyone else take the flack off you. That's what I would say. So he'd booked the accommodation, and he didn't come in. He said he was going to come about 8 o'clock, didn't turn up. Like most people do, they don't turn up anyway, but it's okay. And I'll get somebody to stay and wait for them, or leave the keys somewhere in master lock boxes and all the rest. But he didn't turn up until late. But he booked through booking.com and said he was only going to stay. He was going to it was one person booking, not 2 people. But he turns up at 11:30 at night. Our last check-in time is 11 o'clock. He turns up. He's already been, about 8 o'clock. Took his keys. That's fine. One person booking. We're happy with that. We don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I don't care what time you're coming. You've already got your keys. You're adults. You come in whenever you want to, provided you don't check in after 11 o'clock. So he comes back um I think it was about 11:30. Now he'd already been collected a key at 8 o'clock, like I said earlier. Comes back at 11:30, and he's come back with 3 people. He'd booked for one person accommodation in one of the en-suites, and he's come back with 3 people. So I said, hang on a sec. You booked for one person to come in. You've come back with 3. I said, there's no room. You can't stay in it's a double bed ensuite room. You can't stay there with 3 people. He says, no, it's all right. Some of us will sleep on the floor. Some will sleep on the table. And I'm going, no, hang on a sec. No, no. You can't do that. I'm sorry, it's not ethically wrong, but we're the one. It says we're the one that's going to sleep on the floor. I said, no, I understand that, but it's not quite ideal. You're my responsibility here. You're staying in my property, I wouldn't let you guys sleep on the floor. If you want additional room, you should have said so. I don't even have a place, but I could perhaps maybe I would have made arrangement for you to sleep in the lounge, which has a sofa bed. But you can't bring in 3 extra people and want to sleep in the room. Anyway, to cut the story short, he said, I'll pay extra. And I said, no, it's not the money. Keep the money. But eventually, so when he was leaving, he said, yapping, he started talking him, when I said to him, I said he had to leave. But, and when he was leaving, I thought perhaps it's a good place to actually teach him some lessons. Let me let them stay, because one of them said he was going to go. So they'll reduce it to 3 people, not 4 anymore now, including himself. And I started having a chat. So I decided I would have a chat with them. So I started having a chat with these three of them. One of them turned out to be a teacher, the lady, and they were talking about the educational system, which was okay because it was a place to, learn from, and a place. I mean, as always, everything I do, I'll try to learn from it, or I try to, teach in that situation. So I decided that 3 of them would stay anyway because they're chatting, and they wanted me to drink, and I said no, I won't drink, and so they stayed for the night. But what happened was that, again, like I said, I'm coming up to where they take advantage of the fact that you've called yourself love peace, love and peace, and they think, they can walk all over. Sorry about that. So so when it was, they talked. So what happened was that then I left them about 12:30, and went back to my property where I normally stay. And they were chatting all the way through. And one of the guests who was in another room called me and said, "We can't sleep." It was now, this time it was about 4:30 a.m. in the morning. We'll be hearing loud noises. They were chatting and discussing and doing all sorts of things. We can't sleep ourselves. So I phoned them up. They weren't answering their phone. And because my properties are all linked together, not far from each other, so I drove down to where they were, and then I knocked on their door. I hope you guys can hear me. I've just stopped my calls coming in.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
it was cutting out a little bit,
All right.
but yeah, okay,
Sorry. Okay.
that's all right.
All right. Then okay. So anyway, so I came in about just about nearly 5 o'clock in the morning, and they were still on. And then I said, oh, come in, come in. Guess we've had enough of this now. I didn't want you to stay earlier on. We've been good friends. We've chatted. All right. I think it's time to go to sleep now, so the other guests can go to sleep. All right. So, and he went, no, and he said he wasn't going to do that. Anyway, so I said, in that case, you have to leave then. He said he wasn't leaving, that I wasn't saying my word. I'm supposed to be love, peace, but I'm not love anything. I'm a nice bag. He's come and he called me names and everything. And I said, it's too late in the morning. Can you please leave? He wouldn't leave. He's locked the door. I went out briefly out of the room. He locked the door, locked me out. So they decided to stay. And then when it was, I thought I'd leave them, for a while. And I came back, went away, and spoke to the other guests who were awake. And I said, I'll come back at 9 o'clock to check them out, just make sure everything is okay. I went back there. Um, Again, they'd already started talking again that morning, 9 o'clock, but they wouldn't leave. I said 10 o'clock is our checkout time. The door was still shut, so I couldn't have access to them. So the key thing was that when he checked in, he'd left his passport with me because he was owing some money. So that was one of the reasons we started chatting, because I thought I'd get to know them first a little bit more. So anyway, so that was it. So when I came back at 9 o'clock to check them out, they were still chatting. They wouldn't go. So I decided that, okay, if you're not going to check out at 10 o'clock, you wanted to sleep. Obviously, he was trying to make up for his sleep because they hadn't slept the night before. They were talking all the way through to that morning. So they wanted to sleep. So I said, we charge £10 extra for, additional stay. You'd have to pay £10 till whatever time you decide to leave. So I thought, I'm not going to let this disturb my exercise, my classes. So I went to my class, my yoga class. And I came back at 12, and they were still asleep. And I knocked on their door really hard and said, come on, my cleaners have got to clean this place. You've got to leave. I've got booked. These rooms have been booked. So can you go now? And then he'd come out and he started talking, about how I say I'm love, how I say I'm peace. This place is not peaceful. And he's called it all sorts of names. And I said, that's fine. You can leave now anyway. And no, I'm not going to leave until you give me my passport. I said, no, you haven't paid. Can you pay the difference before you get your passport back? Oh, no, I'm not paying it. Well, I can go and get another passport then. You can keep it. Okay, fine. Anyway, to cut the chase, they left. Fine. Before he left, he's thrown all sorts of nonsense and words at me, which is okay. Like I said, no. What is in his mind? I don't know. What is driving him? I don't know. But anyway, that's his opinion about me. So he left. As I speak now, a couple of days last week, this guy phones me and wants his passport, and he hasn't mentioned anything about the payment, what he owes. I want my passport. I've got to travel. And I said, that's up to you then. And then anyway, the key thing was that when he phoned back, I worked out all the what he owed and what was outstanding. And I spoke to him yesterday and said, this is what you got to pay, is £200. That's what you owe. And then you can get your passport back. And it was up in the air. And again, I didn't listen to him. I just had him cut off on the phone and then said, I was going to block him. I did tell him, I said, I'm going to block you. If you want to come back and get your passport, I'm going to give you to my lawyers and you can phone them. This is their number. You can phone them up, collect it from their office and settle the, whatever amount of money you owe them. And he says, I'm going to come and get my friends to do you over. Fine. I've got cameras all over the houses anyway. So you're right. You can come and do what you want to do. But anyway, so people walk all over us because they think that the values you're trying to espouse, who you are, they think you, which is what I am, that they can walk all over us and do things that they want to do. But again, the moral, the message here is that stick with the areas you know best, people you know, and don't dabble sometimes, which we do anyway, especially business people. When we are in a hard time, we try to, compromise what we've already planned, what our visions are, which I did, and I've learned from it. But again, in hospitality, uh, build relationship, a long-lasting relationship with your guests, customers, and people around you, because they get to know you more. Like I'm speaking now, these are things that you probably don't know much about me. I mean, about the charities and the kind of things I want to do. I speak from the heart. I don't tell. I don't. I respect everybody because I know that everyone that is in front of me that I see is like me, and I show my love either way. And if people are doing things that they don't like, it's only because they want to take advantage. But it doesn't really matter because it comes and goes. We all go through phases in life. Life is just a phase. When these things happen, you take it as it is, and then you move on. I hope that answers all our questions, Patricia.
Wow. I ooh, I wish my attitude was half as good as what you're talking about. Oh my gosh, but no, well done. It must be quite difficult. And we'll talk a little bit more about the hospitality industry. But before we do that, your last question is this. Can you please tell us about your best guest experience and why you consider it to be your best? And I know that you said you don't like using the words good, bad, best, worst, but you've answered the previous question really, really well. So if in the same vein you could tell us about the what, your the best one, really, the one where when you think about it or you remember it, it puts a smile on your face immediately. That one, and tell us why. Thank you.
Thanks. Um, the well, it's not just putting a smile on my face. What it does give me, it's a bit of shiver and a bit of tears in my eyes too. I become very emotional. Um, because it just resonates with me. It tells me more that we're all the same. That we are the ones that put barriers on ourselves, put barriers in front of us, and want to, run, just jump over these barriers and loops that we all put, you know, on our ways to experiencing life and experiencing the joy in life as it is. We create all those things which are unnecessary, but until we understand and know that, we are all the creators of these things, and until we hold our hands together and know that the love we have within us is the same love that the other person has, and until we do that, would we know that all these things are just imagination and just a way of trying to you know um, make ourselves feel either too important or insecure. But these experiences are just experiences that all experiences are for me are just a beautiful experience each day of my life, and I really appreciate it because it gives me time to really know more about who the universe is, what we are as humans, as people, as spirits. So this particular experience brings, just like I said, it makes me quite emotional, and that is quite recent actually. I mean, a lot of them have made me very emotional because, and it makes me even love what I do on a daily basis even more. This particular one was the Ukrainians. When uh, they said take them on and all the rest. I mean, what came to my mind at that time was, what about other people that we've been out to have wars with, or we've made to have wars in other parts of the world? Is that the same attitude we have towards them? Is that the same um, what's the word? The same privilege we've given to them too? When there was this article about taking on people from Ukraine, it's okay. I mean, we've done lots of things around the world. Have we given that attention to those people as well? But I thought when that article on Airbnb came on, that we would, as hospitality businesses, we could take people from that area. You know, I loved that. It came up. I just love the idea of doing that. I love helping people. I love helping because I'm helping myself too. So this incident was.
So whilst Pat is on the phone,
I'm sorry, but
so this,
sorry, I'm back now. Sorry, I just told them I'll call them back.
okay, no problems.
Okay, so this particular incident was, I one of the cottages I managed, I rented that out to a family of seven that had just come from Ukraine. They have um, a, where the family, there was a couple who were in America, who lived in America, and they brought their parents and one of their relatives. So that made them seven adults that came, and they had a dog and a cat. I am allergic to cats. Some cats, not all cats. Sorry, Patricia, I know you love cats, but I hope that's not the type that I'm allergic to. But some of them, I'm allergic to some of them, so that's why I don't keep cats. But for dogs, I love dogs. I've always lived with dogs since I was a child. So, and I usually on booking on Airbnb, I tell them that, I love pets. They can bring their pets, but you have to specify what type it was. And they didn't tell me what type of cats they were bringing. So obviously, out so that I can get some antihistamines ready, or get myself away from that environment where they're quite far because they live there in the cottage. They have their own area and their garden, so I didn't have much to do with me. But sometimes, because I tend to walk around the properties and say hello to my guests, I would pop in and maybe say hello. Not always, but anyway. So I didn't know they had cats. I knew they were bringing pets, but when they did come, the incident that made me happy was uh, coming to the first on the arrival day. Uh, there was still work going on in the property because we had a party before that we had to do quite a lot of cleaning. So these guests arrived at about 11 o'clock and didn't check in until about 12 o'clock. They were still sitting in the car, patiently, and eventually, when we're ready, they came in. They came in and you know settled in, and I went to get the paperwork for them to complete. And when I went back to the flat, when I went back to the house, it was a cottage. When I went back to this cottage where they were, uh, what I saw was the family, the mom, the two moms, yeah, the guy's mom, Alex's mom, Tatiana's mom, that's the lady's mom, and an auntie. They came outside. These people had, they started working straight away. They went around the flowers because I have, as if you probably look at the cottages, you see the flowers on the cottage, the beautiful flowers. These guys started tidying up the flowers from day one. They had only left their bags in. I mean, I'd gone back there about 1 o'clock just to give them papers to sign, and they were already picking the flowers no, picking the flowers, they're tidying up, they were sort of removing the dead plants and doing all sorts of things in the garden. I'm going, wow, how many people would do this? And as soon as I got back to see them, to, and I saw them doing it, I just one of them came straight to me. I said, I thought, so we just hugged unconsciously. We just, it's like two hearts melting together, and that was the guy's mom, Alex's mom, hugged, and I'm going, thank you so much. I didn't think anyone would do this. From nowhere, you've only just checked in. You're already cleaning, tidying up, the flowers, removing dead plants. And who would do this? You've only come here. You've paid 270 pounds a night to stay here. And you're already doing this. How many people would do this? So those it brought joy to my heart, because I'm glad I took them on. I was a bit wary about, I thought I would help, but why is the government putting so much emphasis on Ukraine? They've done so many things. Why are they not taking other people from other parts of the world anyway? Was my idea at that time. But you know that these people would do things, for me. These people I didn't know before, that they've come here, and I'm glad I've taken them on. That, how people can express themselves. It's not your house. You stay in there for a few days, but you've turned the place into a home. It's so beautiful, and it made me so happy, and that gave me something that I'll never forget. That, anywhere you are, wherever you are, is a home for you. Make it a home, so that the light and the love will shine through you. So that's my little story there, Patricia.
Wow, thank you. And I'm glad that they felt comfortable enough to do what they did, because war is not pleasant at all. I've been fortunate. I've never been in a war zone, but and most people haven't. But we can all imagine what it must be like. So for them to leave, Ukraine, and come here and feel comfortable to do that is a testament to the vibes that they got off of you. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for answering your questions. So going into more of your property stuff. So you are into hospitality, serviced accommodation, which is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. Everyone's saying, oh, do you know, I'm going to go into service accommodation. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But you, again, in just answering your questions, you've highlighted the realities of being in the industry, some of the challenges that people face. And I, I don't consider myself to be negative. I consider myself to be factual, to be just, wanting things to be how they are, of wanting to have a balance, which is why it does worry me a bit when people only talk about the advantages, because there are lots of people, and it's a bit unfortunate, but there are people who will only hear a fraction of what there is to hear on a particular subject, and they go away and they start to act on it. But that's not the full picture. And I love that you've shared with us a not so good experience and an amazing experience at the same time. And that is just life, isn't it? There are ups and downs in all aspects of life, ups and downs in all aspects of business. And it's about people, trying to make sure that their ups are more than their downs. And this is what I describe as, the winning scenario, which I've stolen from someone. Actually, it was one of my builders, a plasterer, who used to say, Patricia, we're still winning. We're still winning. And it just made me look at things differently, which is, sometimes things don't go the way that you expect them to go, but you look at the situation in the round, and if there are more positives than negatives, by goodness, you are still winning. So take every win, take everything that's positive, and just run with it. um so thank you, Pat. So now, hospitality business, tell us a bit about it. You've told us some already, which is absolutely great. You've even given us some figures. So for a cottage, they were paying £270 per night, which, some people will sit down, by their calculators, or, figures people will work that out in their heads, and they will say, oh, right, that times 30, that's what I can get a month from a cottage. But tell us about the reality of being in this industry.
Wow. In Thanks, Patricia. This is an opportunity. I wish there were more people. I'm glad it's a podcast so people can listen, and listen from somebody who is right at it, right into it. Hospitality business is, it's a very challenging business in terms of, you have to be out there, you have to be in it, you have to love what you are doing. It's not just, these hypes we get in property business about the figures, how much you make and how you do it. There is always work behind it, and that work has got to be done before you actually get to this real McCoy, these names and things that you want to get, and how much you're going to make. It's not easy at all. I mean, I know that we can paint it as much as we want to. For me as an individual who's been, I've been in education, I've been in engineering, I've been in marketing, I've been in training. I understand, the cycle of things, and and in business, and I don't hype up these things, and I do it as they are, realistically, as they are, as it is to me. Real, I mean, the reality is for me, not for anyone else, because things are different, within us all. We have our own ways of saying things. So the reality is, with hospitality business, I mean, that is, you have to be in it. What I meant was, you have to be ready for it. My aspirations and are that I am working on getting to hotels. I'm going to retire into a hotel where I would have my own place, and then live, a comfortable lifestyle. That's why I'm starting off from where I am now. So it isn't a business that, people have different ways of doing business. It's up to them. You can be an investor in the business, you can be managing the business, you can be doing all sorts of things within the business, but get yourself ready. Once you get yourself ready and you're sure you're going to enjoy what you're doing, that is the the sweet spot. You have to enjoy what you're doing, and I completely enjoy what I'm doing, because it just goes in way, it rhymes well with my, what I want to do, what my aspirations in life are. Because I've always said that we are the creators of our own realities. You create what you want, the universe makes it happen for you. It's already there. You have to take what you want. If you don't take it, it doesn't happen. So, it's a very, very difficult business to be in, because you're dealing with all sorts of things and people, especially. So the what I've done with, because I do, like I said, I've always said it, I take on, I mean, when I started the business, I wanted to take on properties, and I put aside 20,000. I didn't want to exceed that. All I said was, I'm going to take on a property with £5,000 on purchase lease option, and work my way through for the next 5 years. My targets are 5 to 10 years, 5 years, and I will acquire this property. So I've gone with that model for myself, and I've set it up, and that's exactly what I want to do. So, which meant my 20,000, I was going to use 15,000, 555 for 3 properties, and then a year after, go on to the next one again, put in 5,000, depend on what the property values are. And property values have gone up for a long time, for in the last 2 years now. So my target has to be, stretched a little bit to meet the values that are in the area. So, using purchase lease option, that was what I wanted to do. Just put in 5 grand as a deposit, or whatever paperwork I've got to do around that property. If that didn't work, I'll do rent to rent. And if the rent to rent didn't work, I'll take on the property, I will flip it, like I've done flips in the past, or take on the property and then just do service accommodation. So those are the areas I always wanted to work in. They're all related, they're all the same thing, but you have to be in that business. You really have to understand what you want out of it. And because I was building up to hotels, these are the areas that will help me to build up to what I want to do. And so the deposits were already there, the plans were already there, but not always would we have things work out the way we set them out to be, as we all know in business anyway. So how I do it is just exactly how I've just said it. It seems simple, but there is work behind it. There is relationship building, there is marketing, there is admin, There is, finding JV partners, which is sometimes very challenging because people need to understand who you are, what you want to get before they be able to work with you. And those are the obstacles, those are teething problems you have in starting off a business, like in my case. So, um, so the good part is that I, when you decide, in my case, I decided this is what I wanted to do, and I worked myself out to a point where I've created a sort of narrow road for myself where I could sort of uh, um, weed, prune the grass, the trees and everything as I work my way through to achieving the thing that I want to achieve, which is towards hotels. So I've used purchase lease option, which is what I still use to now. I'll use rent to rent, which is what I still use up to now. And then I do service accommodation. Mainly, my model, like, which works around the four beds, four pillars for me, is a four-bed house, and I'll give them all names to what I espouse: love, peace, joy, and gratitude. And then use whatever values, money that I'm getting from that, put that into a pot to start another one again. So it's like a chain. I'm building up to a chain of one to the other one to the other one to the other one. And I just monitor what comes out of it in terms of what am I getting out of it? Is it fulfilling what I wanted to do? Is it meeting the lifestyle that I want it to be? I want it to live? Is it helping me to build up to the charity that I want, people that I want to look after? Is it helping me to, leave something on this planet that will help other people as humans, as people, as, so those are things that I ask myself. So in my business, which is more like a homestay, I call it a homestay because that's where I started from. When I started with just one property, and I just went on to the other one side. Like I said, I had 3 listings. Now I've got 11 listings on the major portals, and it's got more challenging. I knew that when I started, it wasn't quite easy because my daughter said, "How can you move from 3 to this number?" I said, "Don't worry. I've already when you get the basics right, when you've worked on the basics. I've been in the business for nearly 9 years. I worked on the basics. I knew what I wanted to get at, and I work towards it, and I'm still working at it. We're all work in progress every day, and boy, it's been challenging, but it's been fun because I enjoy every moment of it because I wanted to enjoy it because I still want to enjoy it. I don't look at the obstacles that I am faced with. Sometimes I do ask myself, do I need to be here? And I sort of beat myself out of it. Yes, I do, because I love what I'm doing, and I still love what I want to do, and I'm working towards that. So it's a difficult business, but you have to get yourself ready with the fact that you have to love what you're doing, and once you love what you do, then everything else will just fall into play. And that's exactly what it is with me and hospitality. I get to learn more about people. I get to relate with more. I get to relate more with people, and I get to see them from the core, who they are, as true representation of God. And that's, for me, that's love. And I won't go away from this space at all, because this is the only way I can really show who I am from within. So it's a great business to be in, but it's a lot of hard work because people are different. And I've always said, you wouldn't know what is going on to the other person's mind, but you know yours. And if you know who you are, you know what you want to give, then everything else will fall into play for you. I hope that answers our question, Patricia. Over to you.
Wow. Wow. Do you know, every single thing that you've spoken about, you've just given so much information. Anyone who is interested in this area will have so much to gain from actually listening to what you've said. Thank you very much for, for doing that. And thank you for being so open and so generous with what you've been talking about. But can I just ask you one more thing? So, in terms of, you mentioned it initially about how you maybe kind of like changed things around a bit because of your occupancy rates. Now, can you tell us about that? What is the norm for your business? How do you make it work for you? And anyone going, into this area, for the first time, what do you think they can actually expect?
Oh, thanks, Patricia. That's a great question. You see, the thing is, expectations are down to what you have set out by yourself to achieve. And it doesn't go past you. What is yours would always come to you. You set the expectations, but you have to set the work right. So what are the expectations? I don't know. We all have different expectations. But for me, it has to be what you want to achieve. So there, for instance, in hospitality, which is what I know and love so much now, is if you wanted to start with getting doing short let accommodation like I do, the best thing to do, I mean, what I would expect myself to do, because I'm only going to give myself as an example. What I would do is, again, decide on what model you want to, what you want, and that model has to be in relation. It has to relate to what your true values are, what you really want to achieve in life, what you want, what you love to do. There's no point don't cut corners. Don't just cut corners and say you want to do this, you want to do that to make ends meet. No, decide. Once you decide, the universe opens it up to you. It might be slightly challenging initially, but you'll get there anyway. So if I was going to start, for instance, what I'm doing, I will give out, Patricia, it's a beautiful thing you do in the podcast. It's a good place to share. So the thing with me is that I don't mind sharing. As an ex-teacher, I can do all sorts of things. I can share so much information. I share values. It doesn't bother me because it's here to be shared anyway. Somebody else had done all the hard work for me to gain those experiences and those points. So I share it. So once I've shared it, I'm gone. I'm moving on to the next thing, because that's where the world is. That's where life. That's where life is sweet. Where you're sharing. So I don't mind sharing. So if you want to go into this sort of space of business, is be clear in what you want, what you really want, and you can start with taking on. If you want to do rent to rent, that's easy peasy. I know it might be challenging to get a rent to rent property initially, but once you get it, all right, you need to start with um, registering them with the portals, because that's a good way to ease or to free yourself from all the hard work, you know the of marketing, of selling. Is a good place. So if you get it, for instance, a 2 bed, even if it was a 2 or 3 bed place, you can put it in either Airbnb or booking.com. I'm a great fan of booking.com because when I started, I wanted to make sure it was a business, and I've done it. I started with Airbnb, but then when I went to booking.com, because I wanted to run a business, not a hobby. So I used booking.com, and I found that it was good for me. It is good for me because most of the things that you have to do is on booking.com. You can do your management, you can do your selling, they do the selling, you pay them. But just remember, why I said it's a business is that when you're doing any kind of business, you need to think about sharing. Everybody on the chain of the business would have to take a little piece of the pie. And that's what happens with booking.com. It's a huge amount of money. They charge you 18 to 20% to list your property. But what they don't do is that they don't share the information that they get from the guests with you. So those are the things that you have to come around. So make sure that you tap into getting the information of the guests that are coming to stay in your property. Start with a small property. I started with quite small, listing only a house we had, a masonette actually. And then we started from there. And when I started with Airbnb, it was like a hobby. But as I changed to booking.com, it was more professional. And I had enough time to shift from things because they were doing some of their work. All I would need to do is go into my area and look into the accounting work, look into the work that I have to do, and change things around. And then they just do the business. They take their commission. Simple. And everybody, in everything else, the cleaners take their thing. My maintenance people take their thing, the utilities take their money. It's just like that. So it's a pure business. So for instance, if you go, so let's say for instance, for argument's sake, you got £1,000, you want to earn £1,000 from a property, a 2 bed property, all right? You list it in booking.com or you list it in Airbnb, it takes only about 10%. List it in booking.com, you're going to you'll be giving out about 18 to 20%. You've got cleaners to pay, but don't worry about the cleaners because you can do most of them yourself. Depending on how you want the business, are you managing it, or are you going to get somebody to do it for you? You're going to get a project manager or company who manages a project for you. So once you've done that, you take out all the pies for everybody else. You see what is left, and then you can work with that. Or if you can't work with that, then aspire to get a second property on a third property. So it's a baby walk. I mean, it's nice to jump into investment, get a huge area and bring people in and then say all sorts of things and tell stories. You've got to be true to yourself. See, at my age now, I just want to be true to myself. I know, because I know what I want. So that's why I said clarity is very good. Be clear on what you want. It might be a slow start, but be very clear on what you want. If you want to run it as a business, go the business route. If you want to run it as a hobby and you got other businesses or you got work to do on the side, then do it that way. Then make sure that it gels in with your values. What do you want in life? Because if you're not clear on what you want, how can you get it? The universe has given everything you ever want, but you have to say this is what you want, and it be right at your doorstep.
Wow. Okay. So if like somebody's going into this and afresh, and they say I want 100% occupancy, how realistic might that be based on your experience, based on what you do?
No, there isn't 100% occupancy. You couldn't get that. In our business, in hospitality, you'd never get 100% occupancy. Don't let anyone deceive you. Don't all this. That's one thing I have about training sessions. Being an ex-teacher myself, I understand that you can say all sorts of things in teaching, in sharing knowledge and all that, but you've got to be true to yourself about how realistic is that. All right. Um, no, you can't get 100% occupancy rate. No, that does not happen because we have cyclical things. We have things that are going, we have weather, we have all sorts of things. We have things unknown. How can you get 100% occupancy? In hospitality, no, that wouldn't happen. The key thing is that you need to focus on in hospitality if you're wanting to do, property business around Airbnb and Booking.com and Verbo and all the rest. Is bear in mind that your key period, your periods are summertime. That is when we make a huge tons of money, and you've got to provide for, make allowances for things when the weather is not as good as it is now. Okay, so work towards that. Sometimes that's when I tend to go away. Now I travel around, when when it gets very cold, go to Dubai or go to Bahrain to see my kids. So these are times that I make allowances for. So you don't get 100% occupancy rate. You can achieve, possibly can achieve 70%. All right. Um, from my experience of 9 years being in hospitality business, I'd never had 100%. I know that people say they can't do it, but I have looked at the how they've said they could do it, and I don't think that is quite possible. I mean, I know you could register with companies, so long as they give you what you want, but you have to decide on, are you going to be making enough profit from it? Are you going to be paying the project people who are running the projects for you? Decide on what you want. But I know that realistically, I can get up to 70% occupancy rate, but there are more work involved. So you got to brace yourself for that. See, for me, it's not it's a business of lifestyle, relationship building, of just spreading my words, my love, sharing my values. That's all. So, but I can squeeze it. I can stretch myself, as I am doing now, summertime, which is great, up to 70%, maybe 80% if I push it, because then I'll focus more on my clientele, which are mainly people coming up, doctors coming from abroad. I sort of target people who are coming from Jordan, and again, Ukrainians are bringing more professionals into the area in medics. So, I mean, I can stretch it, but I have to get more properties, which is what I'm looking for. But at the moment, 70%, 80% maximum, but not 100%. Even hotels, not 100% through the year. At peak times, yes, we can get peak times. These have been stretched. Most of my properties are all completely full as it is now. And all those calls you saw me, I'm getting in. It's just calls from people who want a stay. And I don't have any accommodation at the moment. So um, I know you'd say, why not? So you're getting 100%. Yeah, 100% for a short period, but not through the year. That doesn't happen in hospitality. Over to you, Patricia.
Wow, thank you. So there it is, the truth of it. So if you're looking to get into this area, this is for people who might be listening, either in the room or in the future. Please do not base your figures on 100% occupancy, because people who are doing it will say you will not get 100% occupancy. But we are now, we've gone over the hour, which is great because there's just been so much to learn from Pat. But Pat, if there's someone in the audience or somebody listening to the podcast, which will be released on Wednesday, so a week from today, and they want to contact you, are you in a position to actually help people, guide them, maybe, kind of like, share your experience and your knowledge with them? Are you? And if so, how might they best contact you?
Oh, thanks for that opportunity, Patricia. I've always I wanted to prepare myself to this stage where I could actually add value to other people's lives, in a way that I would thoroughly enjoy and feel, fulfilled. And so I'm coming to that stage now. I didn't want to start doing it, even with my educational background at the third or the fourth year in business. I wanted to be comfortable that, I have all the things laid out in a platter, that I can share with people. So I'm there now. So they can contact me if they want to. I mean, I've had somebody who contacted me yesterday. I was interested in she wanted help because she's got a 4-bed house, which is great. So I'm at that stage where I can help now. So if anybody wants to reach me, yeah, they can just drop me a line by email or by calling me directly. But please remember that between 9:30 and 1 o'clock, I'm at the gym. I won't be able to take any calls or anything. But between 1 and 5 or 1 to 7, I'm solidly working, so I can take calls and speak to people anytime. So my phone number is always on my website, or my the Love and Peace Homestay. Thanks, Patricia, for posting this here. Love and Peace Homestay was where I started from. And I got Love and Peace Cottages. And so, yeah, you can contact me by email or by phoning. Like I said, phone me anytime after 1 o'clock or 1:30, and or send me an email, or here on Clubhouse on UK Properties, UK Property Secrets. I'm always here every morning with Patricia. Lovely to see you, Suzanne, and Suzanne, who is on stage as well. And Dave, I see you every morning. Adam, well, I hope you all can come to the guest house too. Here, come to Opington to the Love and Peace Cottage to have a good time. I'm releasing something for everyone to come and have a good time this summertime, where you can explore what I do and stay in the cottage for one night if you want. Thanks, Patricia, for the opportunity. Lovely to be here.
Wow. Well, there we are, an offer, an intro, a new thing coming up, and you heard it first here. So the website that Pat spoke about is Love and Peace Homestay.co.uk. So that's all one word, Love and Peace Homestay, all one word, .co.uk. And you can email Pat at loveandpeacehomestay.co.uk, and her number for people who might just be listening and they're too lazy to go onto the internet is 07305, which is on her website, 123436. That is 07305 123436. So this recording is going to be on Clubhouse for the next week, um, until it goes into the podcast on Wednesday, from which point it will then be deleted off of Clubhouse. And the only thing that's left for me to say is, Pat, thank you for doing this with me. And if you're not already following Pat and you're in the room, just tap on her face and follow her. And if you want to kind of like listen to what she's talking about on Clubhouse, tap on the bell icon as well, and then you will get notified every time that Pat is speaking. And next week, I've got the last of this particular series, and I'm going to be talking to Anthony Davies. Now, Anthony Davies is a financier. He lends people money, he JVs with people. Do you want to find out what his criteria are? maybe pop in next week, 12 noon on Wednesday. And then I'm taking a 6-month break. But the guest series will be back, by God's grace, January 2023. So everyone, thank you for spending your afternoon here with myself and Pat. And I look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday. And after that, next year, by God's grace. Pat, thank you very much.
Thank you too for inviting me, Patricia. It was a lovely time to be here. Honestly, it was. I mean, I would live to remember this, because it's a place where I've been able to share who I am, and more to come. So if you're interested in mentoring, or wanting to be trained on um, in service accommodation, in guest houses and homestays, please be in touch with me. And thanks for recapping my telephone number, Patricia, which is 07305 123436. Pat at loveandpeacehomestay.co.uk or info at patriciacaesar.co.uk. Either of them will come to me. But it was a great time. Thanks for, and I feel very honored. Thank you all for listening too. Bye.
Thank you.